How's it going, everybody? This is Oilers Live on Wednesday night. We've got producer Lotzi taking the reins tonight. I'm Ryan Lotsberg, joined by the Oilers fanatic Patrick Phillips and Kevin McCurdy. How's it going tonight, gentlemen?
Very good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Yeah, it's July. It's a slow season for hockey news in general, but we did get a little bit of action this week. The Oilers hired a few new coaches, and there's plenty of buzz. But I'll pass it over to Patrick to give us the rundown and take us through all that.
Yeah, we've had quite a few things happening this week for it being the summer. We were kind of joking it was a little quiet news wise, but we did get some new coaches here with the Edmonton Oilers this week. Paul McFarland, Peter Aubrey, and Connor Allen coming in as replacements for Glenn Gulletson and Dustin Schwartz and David Pelche, who went to the Dallas Stars. So Peter Aubrey is the really interesting one, I think. Of course, the new goalie coach, see what he can do with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. It was a very common narrative here in oil country that Dustin Schwartz was the problem with the goaltending or one of the key problems. So I guess if Peter Aubrey can come in and make a huge difference, that'll back up that claim. Or if Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard continue to struggle, maybe Dustin Schwartz wasn't so bad after all. But we'll have to wait and see what happens here. Connor Allen, the new skating and skills coach. So don't know how big of an impact that will have, but we'll wait and see. And Paul McFarland coming in to take over the power play from Glenn Gulletson, Mark Stewart taking over the defense and penalty kill, Paul Coffey moving back upstairs to his old position with Jeff Jackson overseeing hockey operations and being his right hand there. And some goaltending news this week as well. We know the Edmonton Oilers aren't bringing in a big new flashy number one, but there's some guys that are going to possibly be on the waiver wire or trades like an Archer Sheloffs with the Vancouver Canucks. A couple of those guys that have been brought up, Michael DiPietro with the Boston Bruins, Arvid Soderblom with the Chicago Blackhawks, Nico Dawes with the New Jersey Devils, and there's also been some talk about possibly trading for Tristan Jarry or also Jonas Korpisalo with the Boston Bruins. So that's kind of the latest there, guys. What are your thoughts on the possible goaltending options out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of intriguing options out there. The Artur Shilov's deal went down last week, and I was a little sad to miss out on him, but there's no guarantee he's NHL ready, even though he had a stellar AHL season and playoffs. And there's another similar option out there in Michael DiPietro, who had a 928 save percentage this season, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that was his playoff save percentage in the AHL. He was 927 in the regular season, but 2.05 goals against in the regular season, 1.85 goals against in the playoffs. And he's been toiling in the minor leagues for a few years now. He's 26 years old, so he's looking like he's about ready to pop here. So that would be an intriguing option in my eyes as well. And I wrote a little while ago while I was discussing potential goaltending options that I think Soderblom from Chicago would be a good, intriguing pickup as well. Same sort of age range. I believe he's 26. His goals against the save percentage are awful at the NHL level, but remember he's playing for the Blackhawks. But he finished ahead of Stuart Skinner in expected goals against and goals against above expected per 60 last season. He had positive values there where Skinner had negative values there, right? So he could potentially be an upgrade on Skinner in the short and long term. And he'd come pretty cheap. He's kind of option number 3 in Chicago right now, since they have Spencer Knight and Laurent Brossoit signed. So those are kind of the guys I'd lean towards. But what do you think, Kevin?
I think there's a pretty good chance they're going to take a swing at one of those two guys. I mean, Aubrey's got connections to Soderblom in Chicago. I think there's a good likelihood that they may even try to trade for DiPietro to avoid the waiver wire, because being that they exited the league in 32nd or 31st, I guess. They're way, way, way down the waiver list. Way down the waiver list. So I doubt that they're going to let that go to the waiver wire. So we'll see what happens. I think there's a really good chance they're going to try and trade for at least one of those guys.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense. Like it could be a mid-round draft pick and or a prospect, like we saw with the Shilov's deal last week, right? The Canucks were going to lose him on waivers clearly because they got two guys signed to bigger contracts long term. And meanwhile, Shilov's is sitting there ready, but wasn't going to get the opportunity. So kind of like they did with Podkolzin last year as well, right? They were going to lose him on waivers, so you get something for him. So I could definitely see Boston doing something like that with DiPietro, and potentially Chicago doing something like that with Soderblom if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Original Posar says DiPietro is greater than Shilov's, but neither NHL options that would be on the roster over Pickard, and I tend to agree. I do think there needs to be a dogfight for that at least backup position, and if not, starter position. So let's see what happens out of camp. If one of those guys impresses, but then you pick them up. But I think there's a also decent chance that you may lose Pickard on waivers just based on how he played last year. He's kind of a perfect backup on a really good contract.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be unwise to dump one of these guys as soon as you pick up the other, right? I think you're absolutely right. We need to have that three-man battle in camp if you're going to go this route. If you're going to get one of these guys on a cheaper contract, like that million range, then why not have three goaltenders in camp? You've currently got three guys that could be AHL backups that are probably better suited for ECHL right now. Or Samuel Jonsson, he might be playing in Sweden. I've heard he might be coming overseas or coming over here as well. It's hard to say, but Matt Tompkins is your only true surefire AHL goaltender right now. So if you have Pickard and DiPietro or Soderblom, even though he's played NHL the last couple of years, but one of those two guys fighting for the backup spot in the NHL and the other can go to the A, that's decent organizational goaltending depth.
Yeah, well, certainly better than it's been in a minute, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Would you guys take a chance on Korpisalo or Tristan Jarry at 50% retention?
Korpisalo is an absolute no for me. I've never really liked the goalie. Jarry, I think, with a different team and a different viewpoint, might be really interesting, but you'd have to see some serious retention. I was just talking on Low Tide's show earlier about this. I think that if you're able to move an equally crap contract the other direction, or arguably a contract that's less favored, I think that maybe that's an opportunity to do that. But I don't know if you take Jarry at anywhere near his full cap hit.
Yeah, no, I was because I think Jeff Merrick brought it up as well, like a 50% retention on Jarry, making him like 2 something, so he's almost equivalent to Stuart Skinner cap wise. Yeah.
You might have to sacrifice Stu in a trade like that, which is something I'm not quite ready to do yet. I want to see how he does with Aubrey for a season before we make that kind of decision. I just don't know who else you'd get rid of that you could squeeze a $2.5 million contract on. Jari's at 3.7 or 5.375, right? So it's going to be closer to 3 million.
Could you do maybe like Ian Mark in that deal as well? Like another 1.45 out the door with him?
I mean, sure, that still doesn't quite get us there, though.
Yeah.
And he's on a modified no trade clause.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's got the 10
So depending on, if he's on, or if Pittsburgh's on his list, then kind of out of luck there, right?
Yeah, original Puzar's got a point here, double retention, but that starts to get pretty expensive. And yeah, he's nailed it on the head there.
Yeah, you're paying a lot of draft picks for that.
Especially on
we're running low on assets.
3 years left, did you say?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah. No, anything that's like more than 500K retention for 3 years is going to cost you a mint. So I don't think
I mean,
that's
retention's getting cheaper in this cap with as the cap's rising, but it's still an extra asset. Like we saw it with Trent Frederick. We gave up on a fourth round pick in that deal just for some cap retention, right? Like that seemed needless.
Yeah. No, like the DiPietro or Soderblom or is it Soderblom or Soderblom? I keep saying, am I saying his name wrong?
Blom. Is it Blom? Soderblom? Yeah, I don't
I thought
know.
it was Soderblom, but I could be wrong.
I am a Viking by roots, but I ain't an expert in Swedish language, so I'm
I
not
know his
gonna
first name's Arvid.
profess to know. Yeah, Arvid is easy enough.
I speak 2
Somebody
languages.
earlier.
If we trade for him,
Hockey
we
and
got to get that
English.
figured out.
Yeah, exactly. Hockey and English, or English and bad English, depending on which one you subscribe to.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, yeah, one of those cheaper guys is the safer bet for sure.
And Derek Burgess' comment up here, I wanted to get to it earlier, but could we get Demko? I know injuries, but maybe a new team could help. Could we afford him? I mean, we're talking about Jari being expensive. Demko would be real expensive, especially from Vancouver. Yes, we did the Kane trade, but there was some player preference involved in that scenario as well. And yeah, there was Pud Coles in interdivision as well. But again, I think they were just happy to get rid of the kid, which is unfortunate. But I don't see them doing that. And now that they've extended them, I really don't see them moving. But there's some fans out there that I think have these wild ideas about big name goaltenders for the Oilers being an option. I just don't think it's an option. Whether you want it to be Demko or Sorokin or anyone of that ilk, I just don't see it happening.
No.
Well, the Islanders may burn it down yet, but you can bet there will be a bidding war for Sorokin if he shakes free. I just don't
100%,
know
yeah.
if the Oilers have the assets, and I don't know if they have the instruments to make the cap available for something like that, right? Like, I just don't think they have that kind of option.
Yeah, I just don't see it as being realistic, even if he was available. And like I'd say that for Demko and Sorokin. That's let's move into that's a good transition into Peter Aubrey. So let's talk about some of the new coaching hires. What do we know about Aubrey? And I'm just going to highlight the QR code that I've got up by my head here, floating to my left-hand side. I went into a deep dive on the new hires, so I've got a little bit of info about all the guys and what they've done in the past and how they may have been connected to the team. So it's an interesting read if you want to go check it out. But we'll dive into it on the show here a little bit. Patrick, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Aubrey?
Well, he sounds like he's a solid hire. He's obviously someone from Stan Bowman's past. It's got the Chicago connection there. I heard what's his name, Kevin Woodley, talking pretty highly of him, and Kevin Woodley's kind of the goalie guru there, so that was good to hear. Apparently, he was on the way up in Chicago, but I think when Stan Bowman got moved out there, he kind of lost his opportunity. So he's done some good work with some younger guys, and yeah, it's a kind of a shot in the dark. Probably there's no guarantee of anything. It's not like you're bringing in Sean Burke or an Ian Clark or anything like that. But I think this is a guy that can come in and hopefully make a difference. But I guess ultimately time will tell here.
Yeah,
100%.
He's sort of responsible for Soderblom and Lankinen, isn't he? That was like both of his guys, and Lankinen.
Those are the only two guys that really emerged and made NHL careers for themselves after working with Aubrey.
Yeah, I think you could say that about most goalie coaches, though. Like, how many goalies emerged from Dustin Schwartz over the years, right? Like, I mean, to be fair, he kind of got a crap lineup to begin with, but
yeah.
I mean, I looked at the 25 goaltenders that Aubrey had worked with in Rockford in his time there, and yeah, it's not a star-studded list. That's not necessarily his fault. There was only 4 of them that were drafted that ever saw a time with Rockford, and only 2 of those got NHL games. and neither of them got any more than, I believe it was 6 NHL games, right? So the development part wasn't doing so well, but I'm sure a lot of teams can say that as well, right? Like it's very hard to draft and develop a goaltender and have him stick and be an elite option.
Yeah,
So
goaltending.
it's tough to judge.
Goaltending's voodoo, right? Like as far like it's at least 50% voodoo. Um, if you could find somebody that would reliably pick you up and coming goaltenders with any sort of consistency above, say, 75%, that person would literally be able to write their own checks because it's just such a hard position to get right. And the Oilers have been somewhat historically poor, I guess, at putting the best people in those positions so the team can succeed. So I don't know. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe this is a fresh perspective. And um, yeah, to Rich's point, Sylvain Rodriguez was somebody the Oilers should have probably looked at, and I understand that they may have looked at him after they went their separate ways last year. Um, I don't know. Well, Aubrey's going to be a different direction, and I hope that they continue to build the goaltending department out, and it's not just the one coach. I hope they really do a center of goaltending excellence.
Yeah, and it's something that Jason Gregor's been preaching and talking about, hoping for. And he asked Knobloch about it directly during the press conference in regards to the coaching hires. And he said it's more of a question for Bowman, but it's something that has been talked about and is in the developmental stages. So I would say stay tuned for that. We'll see how that develops over time. But with how Jeff Jackson has kind of revamped a lot of the hockey operations departments, like booting up the analytics department the way he has, working on the player development department the way he has, I would not be surprised at all to see an expanded goalie department. And considering the team that beat them the last 2 years in the Cup Finals has an exhaustive goalie department like they're talking about here, I could definitely see it happening. But
It's badly needed. And like, I don't know if you could maybe, his name always comes to mind, but like Sean Burke, maybe bring him in as like an assistant general manager, and then he oversees the goalie department. Like that's kind of his specification as an assistant GM, something like that.
Yep.
Because you got to promote him above what he's gotten with Vegas, right? So
yeah, that's very
neat
true.
thing.
It's hard to know how it's going to shake out, right? Like it's the experience versus enthusiasm type of deal. The
Yeah.
Oilers have had a habit of hiring the most experienced staff over the like in the McDavid era. Like Peter Chiarelli was the most experienced guy available. Ken Holland was the most experienced guy available. Even you can even bring it back to Bob Nicholson coming in. He was the most experienced guy available, the biggest brand name out there, right? And we've seen how that's played out. Now we're starting to see a shift towards more progressive hires. Bowman himself, I would call in the experienced camp. I was a little disappointed in that hire for well, that was one of the reasons I was disappointed in that hire. Um, but we can see that these hires are at least progressive, right? We're taking a chance on some younger people whose greatest successes are in front of them. And that's my philosophy. I'd rather bet on people whose greatest successes are in front of them rather than behind them. So Sean Burke, he's a very highly respected mind in the goalie world. But is bringing him in and letting him run the reins of a goalie department going to lead to higher success than letting some people who are up and coming handle it, such as Aubrey? I don't know. I do hope they do something to expand it rather than just having it be Aubrey, because I can't say that he's going to be successful with Stu, but with any level of confidence because of the body of work. We've seen 2 goaltenders emerge under him, right? Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, right? It's really hard for me to evaluate the work of goaltending coaches because I'm not a goaltending expert, right? And I specifically with Aubrey, I don't know his tactics. I don't know what his messaging is. I don't know him as a person, so it's really hard to say. So like I'm cautiously optimistic just because it's a new voice and it's a new set of eyes on Stu, which I think is badly needed. Schwartz, his goaltenders either peaked in year 2 or Skinner was year 1, and then they went into an irrecoverable nosedive afterwards. and then they either retired or went and played in Europe or recovered on other teams later, where like Cam Talbot did. So I think the change was needed, but I'm keeping my expectations a little on the low side for Aubrey right now.
I mean, ultimately he can help them, but it's on Stu and Calvin to really do the performing, right? I mean, he can show them different strategies, stuff like that, but if they don't perform, it doesn't really matter, right? So
Yeah, and they've got 1 year to really show Oilers management, like, hey, this change is working and I'm improving. Otherwise, out the door, right? They got 1 year left. Him and Skinner both. The Oilers have $45 million of cap space before the McDavid contract, which will still leave them quite a bit of money to work with afterwards. So they'll have a lot more flexibility next summer.
yeah.
So it's a big year for all involved on the goaltending side for the Oilers.
Yeah, they're playing for their next contracts no matter who they're with.
Absolutely. So let's switch over to Paul McFarland, the new power play coach who's going to be taking over for Glenn Gulletson. How do you guys feel about him? We'll start with Kevin this time.
I don't have any feelings about any of the other coaching decisions aside from Paul Coffey leaving. I think that it was a time for, in general terms, it was time for Knobloch to get his own coaching staff with his own voice to see sorry, my dog's going a little nuts behind me here.
Don't apologize for the puppy.
Well, she's very cute. Yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know if they've made the right decisions. I think the jury's just kind of still out until we see what comes out of it. Again, the biggest thing that I think changing is moving Mark Stewart to be the actual defensive coach and moving Coffey back to the press box, hanging out with Cates and with Bowman. I think that's a good move. I got nothing against Coffey. I just the non-use of analytics left some things on the table in the Stanley Cup final that I think might have at least changed the balance a little bit if they had looked at the pairings a little bit closer.
The pairings in the Cup final were kind of interesting because just the way the Oilers' defense is constructed, it's not a perfect puzzle, right? You got 4 really strong left-hand D and 1 really good right-hand D. And we were trying to fill out 2 right-hand spots with one of the lefties moving over and then one of Klingberg, Stetcher, and we didn't use Emerson in the final, but it was either Klingberg or Stetcher. And it didn't really work to our advantage. Having Kulak on his offside and against that type of forecheck didn't really work. Although Nurse and Kulak had been pretty good together from an expected goals perspective in the regular season and in rounds 1 and 3, they struggled against Vegas, who's also more of a good forechecking team rather than the Kings and the Stars, right? So maybe a little bit of intel there would have helped, but I just don't see the perfect solution that would have helped in the Cup finals.
Yeah, well, to Rich's point in the comments there, I mean, the special teams, both power play and the penalty kill, they needed a shakeup here. The power play has been dominant for years, and we saw how the penalty kill performed for most of the playoffs last year, and it just was not the same this year. So definitely some changes were needed there. I like that Paul McFarland has some experience with guys like the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner when he was there, with those kind of high skill guys on the power play. So I think that might kind of mend well with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl working with those really highly skilled guys. So hopefully that translates to a much stronger power play. But obviously, especially come playoff time, but through this regular season, we definitely got to get the penalty kill figured out because we were just bleeding there, and that was a problem throughout the whole season. So we really want to get the power play going because that pretty much seemed to almost be a guaranteed goal or at least 2 or 3 a game from that team in the past. So getting those going would be absolutely massive for this team this year.
Yeah, ever since the Oilers set the all-time record for power play success in a single season, they fell to fourth and then to 12th this past year, right? So the dive last year was precipitous, and that is a trend that needs to stop because like the Oilers used to rely on their power play to win them games, and now they've improved 5-on-5, but the power play couldn't come along with them. Right. So it'd be nice to have those two things firing on all cylinders at the same time. It's kind of like golf. You can't ever have it all working at once, right? Driving, irons, putting can't all be good at the same time usually. But if
Guess
the
it
Oilers can
depends on if
find a
you play
way,
for Toronto or not, though.
valid.
Sorry,
But
random
yeah,
side thought.
no, all good. But McFarland has a positive. He has a track record of positive improvement with power play units. He had 2 years in Florida, and they improved in both seasons. Uh, they improved slightly in Toronto, but that was a top 10 power play that stayed a top 10 power play. He was only there for 1 year, so it's hard to really gain a lot from that. But in Seattle, they started at 14% in year one, and he was there from the start, but they improved every year, right? They didn't ever see the top half of the league in power play stats, but they improved every season. So that's something that looks good on McFarland. Um, so I don't know how year one under him will go, but year two is bound to be better based on the patterns. And you're right on the penalty kill, right? It's hard to win hockey games when you're spotting the other team a power play goal against every game. Like it felt like we were in the playoffs this year, where like 67% in the playoffs. Like that's just not good enough. But it's interesting for Mark Stewart because of the situation he got placed in last year. He didn't get the PK until after the coaching change was made. And Dave Manson was running it when Stewart first got to the Oilers. Um, So the Manson had put in the system where the high forwards don't choose or don't protect passing or shooting lanes, they protect passing lanes. And Stewart didn't deviate from that at all. He just let it ride because he got hired in November and teams don't get enough practice time to make sort of that kind of systematic change in the middle of a regular season. And then it got hot for a while. They killed 25 of their first 27 penalties off after the coaching change got made. So why would you make any changes then? They were streaky that year. It only ended up being at 78% overall, which is pretty mediocre. But then the playoffs happened in 24, 94.3%. So going into 24-25, why would you make any changes at all? So they let it ride. But they lost some key penalty killers in Ryan McLeod and Warren Fogle. And then even on the back end with Cody Ceci and Vincent Desharnais. So they struggled a bit more this season. They had stretches where they were really good, but they also had stretches where they were really bad. The sum of all that, another mediocre penalty killing regular season. And then we saw it be terrible in the playoffs. And they talked about, or Knobloch said in his availability the other day that they talked about making changes to the PK, but they look back to the playoffs the year before and they look back to those stretches of success in the regular season and said, why? Not right now. But after these playoffs, now they have to make a change. So this is Stewart's first chance to really put his footprint on that penalty kill. So I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out for him. And now he's got the defense on his plate as well. So it's just a little bit more. So Stewart's a bright hockey mind, and the guy played for a long time. So I'm sure he's capable, but it's just going to be interesting to see how he does in year one with this added responsibility and the first chance to really put his mark on the systems.
Yeah.
Sorry, go Patrick.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, to your point where let's just let it ride. I think you let it ride when you have pretty much the same group, but when you have different players in the group, that's when you don't let it ride because it's not the exact same situation. So I'm glad they're making those changes and not going with that attitude again because, yeah, obviously big changes are needed. Yeah, go ahead, Kev.
I think the issues with the penalty kills start with something that's going on with goaltending because the on-ice save percentage on the penalty kill is horrendous for both goalies. I'm not sure
So
what
which
the
Yeah, so what do you think came first, though, the chicken or the egg? Do you think the goaltending is poor because of poor systems play, or do they just need to make a save?
Yes. Is that a valid answer?
It's both.
I think it's both. There's some times that, you see some ugly goals go in short side or whatever that you need a save on, or some shitter dribbles over the line or whatever. But um there was some systems issues as well, and I think you're right that we lost some key penalty kill folks, especially along the right side. Um and we also the penalty kill is so crucial, right? Like it it has the ability to make or break momentum for your entire team. So having it be so inconsistent is really hard to generate momentum off of. So I think whatever they do next, I think that, I hope that they're up to the task for changing it up here. But um this team needs to figure out this struggle, whether it's goaltending, whether it's defenseman, better, whether it's whatever. And you know what? I just picked up what I was getting at. They changed the archetype of their team this summer. Like they've got Savoy coming in. I fully expect to be Savoy to be on the penalty kill. There's your, he's not as big as McLeod, but he's as fast as McLeod was, and that speed is crucial to get to the high side, right? So that I think is they've changed the speed of their team, and I think that's going to make their penalty kill better just by the fact that they have that available to them.
And we got to remember we lost Connor Brown this summer as well. He's another huge penalty killer for us. So we're going to have to find some guys somewhere that can PK. And you're totally right. Knobloch has already said that he expects Savoy to be on the penalty kill this year. He was killing penalties in Bakersfield last year, and he's got the speed for it. He's got the IQ for it. So I think he's going to be on there. Who else do we see killing penalties for the Oilers on the forward ranks this year? It's obviously going to be Nuge, right? He's always been a mainstay there for years. Yadmark's got to be involved as well if he's with the team to start the season, which may or may not be the case, as we've been hearing.
Connor going to stay there?
Savoy, I don't think that's a regular season move. I think that was more of a tactical play for the playoffs, just with the way that LA series was going. They had such a hard time generating offense early in the series that they had to do something to put a scare into the Kings. And it worked, right? Connor was generating some chances.
I like that last 30 seconds thing though, where they put Connor out against a gassed power play unit, because he can generate stuff shorthanded, but he's also capable of leading that attack back into even strength, right? And then they throw
Yeah.
Leon out there with him, and they're all of a sudden you've got, if everything works out, a tired power play unit out against a fresh Connor and Leon, and that has generated them results in the past.
Yeah, it just prevents the other team from getting a change. They've been out there for a minute 40 or 2 minutes or however long that unit's been out there. And then you get Connor and Leon at full tilt with a lot of rest. So that's definitely a neat little wrinkle into the strategy. So we can definitely see that happening. But by that count, so New Janmark, Savoy, maybe McDavid the odd time, right? Podkolzin, Kapanen, like there's five guys there. Hyman can do it, but they took him off the PK a couple years ago to limit his total ice time, and it was effective. He got 54 goals the year they started limiting his PK time.
I
So
could be
let's see.
wrong. I thought I heard Curtis Lazar might be on the penalty kill too. I might be
If
wrong.
he makes the team.
Yeah, Lazar can
Yeah.
kill, but I don't think he's going to be an every night type of player. I see him as more a
probably not.
13.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
But maybe he can play all all three forward positions. So maybe he carves himself out a top 12 spot somehow, and maybe
if you look good
maybe
there,
he's
that's
so
a good way to
effective.
make the team.
Yeah, like maybe he's so effective on the kill that he makes it hard for the coach to take him out of the lineup.
Yeah,
I don't know. But he'd be an option. So like I think we're gonna have to do some experimenting early in the season just to find pairs that work, because I don't think we have any set pairs. And Derek Ryan was another big penalty killer for us too, but he's gone now too.
right-handed draws. That's
Right-handed
gonna be
draws.
like
I think
that team.
that's
This
why.
team has struggled, man, with getting the puck out of their zone if the puck's on the right side, right? Like they did start using Bouchard at 2 in the playoffs a little bit on the PK, and that actually was way more effective than anybody wants to give them credit for. That's
Absolutely.
basically how they stopped the bleeding after the first 2 games. So there is something to be said there, and Bouchard can munch minutes in his current form. But those guys are at way higher risk for shot blocking too, right? So you got to be careful with that because you don't want to mangle your star defenseman with, blocking a slap shot or something like that.
Yeah, it's always a risk when they're out on the ice in an NHL game, but if you can at all control it and limit the opportunities for that to happen, then yeah, I totally agree. But Bouchard was great on the PK last year, and ultimately, there's 2 guys that aren't going to be involved in the PK a ton, right? 4 out of your 6 are going to be involved pretty regularly. And ideally, everybody would get a little bit just to take some of the load off, especially if a guy like Darnell Nurse is struggling on the kill like he usually does.
Yeah, I I don't know. I don't know how Mark Stewart's relationship with Nurse is, but I want to see how this plays out this year. I'm not exactly delusional in thinking it would be nice to move him, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. Um, so maybe Mark Stewart's perspective is enough to change things up a bit. We'll have to see.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Nurse is a big part of this. A lot of it is his contract being what it is, and with the no move clause, he controls the terms of where he plays, right? Whether the team actually came to him or not, I don't know. But regardless, Nurse has control. So like he's here, he's a part of it. He's been a part of the core for a long time, and when he's at his best, he's really good, like really good. But we just need that bottom end to come up a little bit, and for him to bring that top end a little more often. Hopefully, Stewart can bring that out of him. Just looking to the chat here, Mangiapane's name was brought up and as a PK option, and I'd see him as a PK option as well, so he could be in there. That's another option. And then didn't Leon play PK before? I've seen him play a lot of 5-on-3 situations. Like if he's one of 3 PK guys, he's usually the high forward because his hand eye is so amazing. He plays with that burger flipper and gets the hand-eye coordination going on that. He can break up plays. So yeah, PK or Leon's an option as well, but like I say, I don't think they want their star guys going out there PKing just to limit their total ice time and to the point on Bouchard. You don't want them out there blocking shots. Now, the system that they've used for the past few years doesn't really ask the forwards to block shots, but I don't know what system they're going to run this year. So maybe they'll be blocking a lot more shots with the forwards up near the blue line this year. We'll have to wait and see.
Random factoid: apparently Leon Draisaitl just won Best NHL Player at the ESPYS.
Oh, there we go. That's fun to see.
Just
That
a
was
second
probably
ago.
before the results of this Newmarket beer hockey or beer league hockey game came through. Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
You
Hey,
just
so
see him
Zach,
doing the off ice interview right there at the side of the beer league hockey game for his award win. Like, be so on brand for him.
yeah, that would be hilarious. Yeah, if you missed it, him and Connor are taking the ice in a beer league game in Newmarket, so you can tell that they're there training, doing their summer work in Ontario. Um, a beer league game doesn't seem like work because those boys are probably not going anywhere near 100%, especially because they were down 4-0 after the first period. It's pretty obvious that they're not trying all that hard because they could probably have been up 10-4 after that first period if they wanted to be.
I'm just glad to see them having some fun with it instead of completely bagging it all the time. Like, there is a certain element of the sport should be fun too, right? And if it's lost the fun, it's hard to play, you know, to the bleeding edge all the time. So maybe they've figured out that they need to just take it easy this summer and meme it up a bit with the beer league boys and see how it comes out.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Do you want to hit this comment about the Carlson situation?
Yeah, let's get into it. We have not
I
discussed that yet.
No, good timing. Good segue. Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead, Patrick. You look like you wanted to say something to it.
Oh, I cannot see how the Oilers make that one work at all. I mean, maybe if Pittsburgh retains half of Carlson for 2 years, but I mean, I wouldn't be totally against it, but I don't see any way how it's a fit with the Oilers cap wise, fit wise, but I don't know. That's pretty much all I have to say on that one.
So it's $11.5 million AAV, 2 years left. Or sorry, this is year 7 of 8. So he's got 1 year.
He's retained once already, though, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's a 10 cap.
I think he's at 10.5 or something like that.
Oh yeah, there you go. 13.04% of contract was retained by the Sharks in a trade to the Penguins. So I don't know what that math works out to. Penguins, Puckpedia, Erik Karlsson. Yeah, he's on their books for 10 million. So you're right. So okay, so at best we could get 50% retention on that. So at best he's only $5 million. That's at best.
Yeah. I don't see it unless it's a Darnell Nurse for Carlson. The trade is 1-for-1 type of tweet, but like how else do you make? And I'm not like being a Nurse hater here. I'm literally bringing at the cap hit side of it. Like, how else do you get out of that situation besides Nurse or Draisaitl or guys that you're just probably not trading?
Yeah, we just don't have the space to be taking on that kind of cap hit. So money in, money out. If you're trying to look at acquiring a guy like Carlson, which
I just don't.
yeah, just
He's not even that. He's great offensively. Don't get me wrong. The guy's an offensive genius, right? He does some crazy stuff on the offensive side of the puck. But man, his defensive hockey is some bad, and it is not getting better. Like, he's not like one of these guys with a player card like Bouchard, where it's 98% on the front end and like 40 to 60% on the back end. His is literally 98-2 or 98-0 the last I checked. Like, dude might as well be a forward.
yeah. Hey, that's totally fair, but just to play devil's advocate and just for the sake of having an argument on the show, if there's one team out there that type of player would be a fantastic fit for, I think it's the Oilers. Just because of the way we like to possess the puck and play with pace. That's what our success is predicated upon, right? Get the puck, move it out of our zone quickly, get it up to the skilled forwards, and let the boys work. And I do think we do need an upgrade on the right hand side. I don't know if Carlson's the answer there. I don't think it would work. This feels like the goalie conversation when getting Sorokin. Like, even if you wanted it, it's just not feasible. But I would love to see another puck moving right handed D join this group somehow. I don't think I'm going to get my wish, but I'd love to see it.
No, that's probably something that's going to have to wait till the trade deadline. And yeah, I mean, if Carlson did come, and he would be great for those points you pointed out there, Ryan. But yeah, they better keep it in the offensive zone when he's on the ice, though, because to Kevin's point, if it's in our zone, we're in real trouble.
Yeah, so you put him with Ekholm, right? You put him with the babysitter, right? I've never bought into that logic. Like, everybody's responsible for their own actions out there. I think Bush is better than he gets credit for, and Ekholm is very good. Don't get me wrong. This isn't a situation where I'm trying to bash Ekholm, but if you bring in Carlson, he needs to bring it on the defensive end as well. Like I say, I do think it could be a fit potentially, kind of like Klingberg, but more extreme on the offensive side and
Or
probably
extreme
worse
in the price
defensively.
tag.
Yeah, and then the price tag too, right? Like, I just don't see this happening. What do you think about the fit for the Leafs though? They have some cap space. They didn't sign Marner. they brought in Michelli to replace Marner. That was a significant cap savings.
That's about it, though.
They have 5.3 million in cap right now. So they're also going to need double retention, or retention anyways, to get there. Well, I guess technically it is double retention, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. Maybe it makes sense for them, but where are they really falling short right now? Like where are the Leafs actually weak? Because that's where they should spend that cap hit.
Let's take a look at their Puckpedia here.
Leadership.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my point, right? Like that, subtly, that's the point I'm getting at. Is it's a sports psychology problem. It's not a skill problem, I don't think.
Yeah,
I think it's just a leadership and psychology problem with that team, because they have a ton of talent. They have a fairly deep lineup. They should be going farther than they are, which leads one to wonder why that's the case.
Yeah, that's 100% totally fair. There was always drama surrounding those top three guys with Matthews, Nylander, Marner. And Marner may have been at the center of it. Remember the playoffs last year with, or was it 2 years ago, where they had the little hissy fit on the bench, the little yelling match? Marner threw his gloves down and Nylander told him to stop crying.
Yeah, there was that one, and then there was the one this year where he told everybody to get their shit together. On the ice and in the middle of Game 7 or whatever their death game was. I don't think he was exclusively the problem, but I don't think he was part of the solution. Let's put it that way.
That's totally fair. Even just watching the Amazon doc last year, like Nylander surprised me with his leadership and like just how firm he was with his teammates. Like I was not expecting that from the dude that dresses like Harry Potter. Right,
dude, he's got fantastic style. Come on.
He's got those couple of Harry Potter style outfits. He gets the round glasses on, and that's where my mind goes. But like, the kid's obviously got some style and some flair. Shout out to Nylander, but yeah, like just his leadership really surprised me in those situations. Watching him on the Amazon doc and then hearing that interaction on the bench, it's like, okay, this kid's a gamer. So yeah, maybe Marner was part of the problem, part of the culture issue. Not sure. Not in the room, so it's hard to say. But that's the decision they've made.
Let's go see if that Vegas subsequently detonates this year or not, because that'll be the real tell, right?
How do we see that playing out? Like, I mean, picturing him and Eichel together, and that looks that's tantalizing. Fearful as an Oilers fan.
Well, if it's the Toronto thing, they have an amazing regular season and get knocked out in the first round.
It's fair. Well, and you're basically replacing Pietrangelo with Marner at this point, right? Yeah. They might use Pietrangelo's LTIR space to go get somebody like Rasmus Andersson at the deadline. That seems to be the way that all those arrows are pointing. But until that happens, do you think Marner's addition makes them better or weaker?
Well, they should be better. I mean, that's someone for Jack Eichel to play with, right? That's an upgrade on Mark Stone probably overall, just because Stone's getting older, constantly hurt and stuff. But I mean, they should be better, but it's the playoffs that I really want to see where Mitch Marner, if he makes the difference or not.
Oh yeah, 100%. What do you think, Kev?
I think that team is going to be ugly to play against. There's a couple of guys that give you hives every time they touch the puck. Adrian Kempe for the Kings, for example. Doesn't matter. If he's got the puck, I'm starting to get nervous. So Marner is one of those guys, regardless of whatever off-ice issues may or may not be there. But Marner and Eichel together, that's a recipe for some Benadryl. Do you know what I mean? Like that's ugly stuff. And I'm not sure how much the Oilers want to play against those guys. And don't forget that they have like Thomas Hurdle and stuff too, right? So somebody asked about Vegas being over the cap. Yes, they are over the cap, $7 million right now.
Yeah, 7.6 is what I just saw. Yeah, I was going to get there.
Pietrangelo is not on LTIR yet, and once he is, they will be cap compliant, and they'll actually have some space, about $1 million. So that's what they're. I think Pietrangelo's playing career is effectively done. I don't think he's coming back from this. Didn't sound like something like double femur reconstruction was something that most people would be coming back to play professional hockey from.
And I don't know if he's actually going to get that surgery or not, because I think that seemed like too daunting of a proposition for him to try to come back from. So I think he's just like, okay, F it, I'm done.
No, and it seems like the team, based on the wording in the release from the team, it sounds like the team made their own conclusions, which is this isn't viable for us to try and rehab anymore. So it seemed like it was both sides really throwing in the towel on it, right? I don't see a path back. They're saying take it easy on hockey so he has some quality of life left. Well, that's a pretty damning statement from any time I've heard it before.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, anytime quality of life is being evaluated in this type of context, yeah, he's not playing anymore. Like, he's done. He's getting the Carey Price treatment. Like Shea Weber, he's on LTIR for the rest of it until his contract goes out, and then he's gone.
He's got 2 more years at 8.8, I think. Yeah. So that's a fairly significant cap opening for Vegas, right? They didn't just go and spend every cent, and they've got Jack Eichel's renewal up next year, so he's going to be probably Leon money, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, he'll be up there. Maybe even surpass it, just because players see one guy get signed and they're like, I want to be higher than that. Make it happen. As the cap goes up, percentages increase, and yeah, so he might even get more than Leon.
I'd still rather have Leon, so he can pay more.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because I think there was. Yeah, I was gonna say I think there was talk initially about Thomas Hurdle possibly moving, but I think that Pietrangelo situation changed everything for Vegas there. So, yeah, that gives them the cap space for a couple years, right? So
I think they were going to try to give him to Carolina because Carolina wanted Marner, and they didn't know what was going to happen there, and they needed to create some cap space. But the Pietrangelo situation fixed that, and then Carolina got Ehlers, and everybody's happy. Kevin, you were talking about Kempe as a guy that gives you hives. How are we feeling about the Kings and what they did this summer with Ken Holland? Do we feel like they're any more of a threat? Thank God for Ken Holland. He went back to the old well a couple times. Cody Ceci, Corey Perry. He gave him big money to do so.
Thank God for Ken Holland. I don't know, man. I don't think the Kings came out better from those signings, but
no way.
Can't make this shit up, man. You just can't make it up.
Who else was offering Cody Ceci a 4-year deal? Like, I could even see signing Cody Ceci to like a 2-year deal or something, but who was offering Cody Ceci a 4-year deal at $4.5 million?
Yep.
Like, what?
2x2, man. That's what Cody Ceci is worth.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Ceci took a lot of hate for reasons that were well beyond his control, right? But I have little doubt that if Ceci had been with us at $2 million, that he would have been a lot more popular as a player. But it's always these situations where players are overpaid relative to what they deliver on the ice, right? Like, if the contract is efficient, or very efficient, Matthias Ekholm, for example, you never hear anybody talking shit about that guy. Number one, he's amazing. Number two, he's amazing off the ice. But number three, because he delivers value or value plus over what his actual AAV is, you're never going to hear a bad thing about it. But guys like Cody Ceci, Darnell Nurse, Vincent Desharnais, when he took his rather hefty raise in Vancouver and subsequently imploded, and I don't take that lightly. I love Vinny as a player, but I'm glad the Oilers didn't pay him $2 million. Let's put it that way. But all these guys that take they swing for the fences on money, which is great if a team is willing to give it to them. But when they don't live up to it, then it's a pressure cooker that they put themselves in. And it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy from there usually.
Yeah. Well, I think the Oilers were just Vinny Desharnais' fit. He doesn't fit very well with many other teams, and just to making $2 million, yeah, it's like you said, a recipe for disaster.
They'd have signed him in Edmonton for 1.2. I bet you he'd still be on this team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. They
I'd rather have him than Josh Brown.
Yeah, well, that
yeah.
Don't get me started. I honestly wouldn't be sad to see them try and get Vinny back for Bakersfield. They could use the size back there after. So I'm not sure there's going to be teams lining up to give him even much of a contract after how this one's gone.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. He was a great story, likable guy. It's one of those situations where, when you find a home like that, it's usually best to just kind of stay home, right? He went. I don't chase him I don't blame him for chasing the bag, but for his career long term, I think this was the better place for him to be for sure.
Same can be said about Costin, right?
Yep.
Costin ran out of here chasing the bag, and his career went right in the shitter after. I wouldn't be sad to see them give him a tryout at least to see if he's still got any juice in the tank and maybe an AHL deal. I felt like he was
absolutely.
a good fit here, and if he wants to come be depth for us, I think that's something they should consider entertaining. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. At the very least, I think they should offer him a PTO and see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's definitely worth a PTO. Absolutely. That doesn't hurt anything.
It's just going to be really hard I was just going to say with the depth on this team, though, it's going to be you're going to have to really impress as a PTO to break through this team. But if it's like a two-way for Bakersfield, that definitely works in his favor. But just to getting on the main squad, he's going to really have to impress.
He feels like another Max Jones, former late first round pick. He's got some size, a little bit of speed, but where is he going to get his chance here? Right, I don't see Jones cracking this lineup. Costin is probably going to be in the same situation, unless Janmark is not a part of the equation somehow. Then there's maybe an opportunity there, but I don't know where that's going to go. So guys, we're coming up on 10:15. We have about 15 minutes left. The schedule dropped today, so we should get into that a little bit. Patrick, you did a little bit on the schedule in the video earlier today. So what were some of the highlights from the schedule that you noticed?
Well, Stoff put out some interesting things here. Let me bring it up here.
The big thing from my perspective is that we don't leave the Eastern time zone in the new year. I can't remember the exact date where we play our last game in the Eastern time zone, but it's early in the season.
Yeah, that was one of Stoff's points. He had 17 of Edmonton's first 26 games are on the road. So we're definitely going to have to find out if we're a good road team to start the year, or that could put us in a bit of a hole. There's a 5-game road trip in October, a 7-game road trip in November. And yeah, to your point, no playing in the Eastern time zone in the second half of the season. But Stoff also pointing out that Edmonton was 4th last year with 23 road wins. So we were a good road team last year, and we'll definitely have to put that to the test early on in this season. That's for sure.
Yeah, so do we think that's an advantage for us, or do we think that's something that's going to hurt us? Is it going to dig us too big of a hole early in the season, or can we crawl out of that hole with a lot of home games in the second half? How do you guys see that playing out?
I'm not worried about it. I don't think that part of it matters. I think um, in fact, in some ways, you want the schedule to be hard enough to end the season. You don't want to be paying a bunch of trash teams that are playing, garbage hockey, basically. You want to be playing some competition, but you also don't want to bang yourself up too much. So there's a kind of a balance there. So I guess it really just depends on which opponents are left and who's in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Random Mike's gotten a good point here, especially with some new faces coming into the team, some young guys that we have to integrate into the group. I think road trips at the start of the season will help the new guys bond. I think that's definitely a good point. Even if they do struggle to start the season, the benefits of the group being on the road together to start the year will surely help in the long term.
Mhm. Well, we got some good tests in April to close out the year. They play Chicago, Vegas, Utah, San Jose, LA, Colorado, and Vancouver. So most of those teams should be in the mix. So there's a couple easier ones you would think against San Jose, Chicago, but the Kings will be right in it. The Avs will be right in it. Vancouver should be better. We'll see. But yeah. But I
Yeah,
think
we'll see.
Anaheim are going to take a jump too. So yeah, it's going to be interesting how the division finishes it out this year.
Yeah, the way I see it, I view that second half being mostly at home as a really good thing. The first half of the season is going to be exhausting, but we've just had two real long, exhausting playoff runs. And for the Oilers to have a couple months leading into the next playoff run where they don't have to travel so much, that's so much easier on the body than having to log a ton of miles in the second half and then go do it again in the playoffs. So I think that second half is going to be a lot easier on their bodies. They're going to be in a better place going into the playoffs than they have been the last couple of years, especially this past year where half the team was injured.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we didn't go on as much of a tear in the second half this year, but I think we were actually better for it. Because I think, yeah, to Kevin's point, a couple years before the schedule was easier, and we went on like the 16 game winning streak, stuff like that, and maybe we weren't quite ready going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They weren't quite at the gear they needed to be. So I think we were better situated, and we were also dealing with a lot of injuries closing out this year. So that was a big factor too. But yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah, it was the injuries and guys like Frederick who'd only played 7 minutes after the deadline. Kane coming into the lineup after not having played at all. New lines, some new faces in there, and just not everybody being at or everyone not being at 100% just kind of made for a slow start. But I just feel like the lack of travel in the second half will put us in a much better position this coming playoff run.
Absolutely.
Hopefully they cannot bang themselves up so much too, because the previous 3 years they got really, really lucky with injuries overall, and then this past season was pretty rough. Like to the point that even there was questions being asked about the training staff, and I consider the Oilers training staff to be one of the best in the league at keeping the players healthy and playing. So um, I think too, like they got themselves into a bit of a rut, so they had to play hard out of it too after the Four Nations, just to sort of make the best of it. And that Four Nations thing really kind of screwed up their vibe for quite a while.
What kind of
Yeah,
impact
that
do you
road
think the
trip.
Olympics have?
Same stuff.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a longer break for the Olympics this year, if I'm not mistaken. Four Nations was like a week and a bit, whereas the Olympics I think are a full 2 weeks. I haven't actually looked at the schedule, but I feel like that's a longer tournament. You're going overseas, and just the schedule is a little longer over there. There's more teams involved in the tournament. So we'll see. Like, I don't. Yeah, with the Oilers, we know how they are coming out of long breaks. They're usually terrible. So it'll be good to get the rest, but it takes us a while to get our engines up and running again, as we saw with that 7 game losing streak that kind of corresponded with the Four Nations last season. So we'll see how that plays out for us. Yeah. On that little interesting note, the Olympics, I don't know if you saw the German roster, but it was cool to see Josh Szymanski get onto that German, or it was a preliminary roster. It wasn't like a here's the roster. I don't, because those aren't coming out till later. But I saw Josh Szymanski's name in association with the Olympic team. So it'd be cool to see an Oilers prospect getting his shot playing the Olympics. That'd be fun to see. And Szymanski should be in Bakersfield this year, so he'll be a fun one to follow. Big kid, good hands. Should be an interesting project for this season.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the Olympics this year will include all of our top guys, right? Like we had Draisaitl sitting for the Four Nations, but he's going to be playing too for Germany, and I'm sure Bouchard will probably factor in somewhere with Canada, but we'll see. But so like pretty much all of our top guys are going to be involved.
It blows my mind that Bouchard is not considered a top 6 defenseman as far as Canadian defenseman goes. Like
he's considered a top 10 in the league.
Right? I would consider him a top 5 in the league. I know that's controversial with people because of, laziness and defensive lapses or some such, which, I can show you a ton of video from the playoffs that proves both sides of the argument. Let's put it that way. But if you have McDavid on the team and you potentially have Hyman on the team, which was an oversight in my view at the Four Nations, you put Bouchard with those guys too. Like that's just good team building to me. But we'll see what they do, I guess.
Yeah, I think the big issue is just stylistically. They've got Cale Makar, who I would not put I would not put Bouchard on the team over Cale Makar. I say you've already got that style there. We know how Hockey Canada operates. They want the most well-rounded team that they can possibly get. They want guys in specialty roles. So that's why you see a guy like Colton Parayko make that team, right? He's not anywhere near the top 20D in the league, in my opinion. But he's on that team because he's big and he's physical and he moves the puck well enough, right? We'll see if Drew Doughty's good enough to play his way back onto the Olympic team again. He might get that vote just because of his experience and who he is. But there's other options that could be superior to him at that point. And Petrangelo's not going to be on that team. He won't even be in the mix this time. So there's lots of other options for Canada too, but I think just with Bouchard and what he can do, especially on the big ice when he's going to have a little more room to operate, I don't see how you can leave him out.
Yeah. There's a comment here about Bouchard only shows up in the playoffs, and my counter argument for that is, what do you think the Olympics are, if not the playoffs, right? Like, in some ways, winning a gold medal is as good as the Stanley Cup to some. I still consider the Stanley Cup the hardest of all the trophies to win, but you only get one every 4 years for the Olympics, so that's there's a rarity element to that. But I think Bouchard really should be on that team.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Like you go Makar, Bouchard, and then put your physical shutdown guy on a third pair. And then you can bring up another right-handed guy to be your 7th if you want. Right? But you got to find a way to get Bouchard on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, especially with McDavid. Like, you amplify McDavid by almost 10% expected goals by having Bouchard on the ice with him. That's not an insignificant split. Like, he amplifies McDavid's breakouts by a hefty margin just because he knows where to put the pass. So I think for that reason alone, you got to consider him. But he's also an exceptional offensive talent. But I also get, you want to put Makar with McDavid too. So how do you get out of it?
Right. And I mean, by that logic, McKinnon, Makar, McDavid, Bouchard. Right. You get 2 pairs of teammates that are elite and you got their chemistry up there too.
Yeah,
so I think there's room for both.
You build your Canadian version of McDry, let's put it that way. Right?
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
got two solid first 2 lines that are true top 6 lines. And I think there's, it's going to make it really hard to play against.
Yeah, I mean that's 40 minutes of ice time essentially, right? 2/3, where you're either facing Makar or Bouchard, and you're facing that Makar McKinnon duo or the McDavid Bouchard duo. That and it's probably going to shift a little more than 40 minutes just because they're the top two pairs. They'll get a little more ice time than the guys on the third pair. So that's that's a scary thought.
Well, and offense is usually at a premium in the Olympics too. Like you see a lot of low scoring games. So anything that can give Canada an offensive edge there, I think you definitely got to utilize, because there's going to be a lot of close 1-goal games, especially when it gets down to the medal games and who ultimately brings home gold.
Yeah, the counter to that would be Bouchard's giveaways could be costly in that scenario. But I would just like I do in the regular season and for the Oilers, I tend to err on the side of Bouchard's offense and what he can do with the puck. Him helping the breakouts the way he does, I'll take the odd giveaway in exchange for what he does with the puck.
Yeah.
Given
The
how
other
much
4 guys on the ice will be much better than what the Oilers usually have too, though.
Yeah,
So they could
100%.
possibly cover off Bouchard's mistake.
right, but given how much Bouchard touches the puck, does he really, like, in terms of giveaways per puck per puck touch, like that's
Oh, he's actually he rates quite highly in that metric, like top 5 in the league in that metric. I can't remember where I got the stat earlier in the season, but yeah, and he touches the puck a lot, and it looks like he gives the puck away a ton because of it. But the ratio of touches to giveaways, like it really looks good on Bouchard. Like it really isn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
that's probably NHL Sid or Blue Bullet Brad. If I had to make an uneducated guess, I think it would be one of
I,
those 2 guys that would be.
I
I'm not
usually
100%
good get
sure.
Yeah, usually good guesses. I don't think it was either one of them. I'd have to dig up my article that I wrote about Bouchard at that time. I can't figure it out right now. Hey guys, we got a few minutes left, so we'll start to wrap things up here. Maybe we'll go around the horn and we'll give Kevin last word because he's our newest guest. Patrick and I are on all the time, and I'm sure Kevin will be on a lot more often in the future. But we'll give him last word tonight. And I guess that means I get to go first since I'm hosting. But I said before the off season kind of started that I thought the most sensible move would be to keep Skinner and Pickard and then to hire the new goalie coach. And that's exactly what's played out here. There's no guarantees, right? I don't know what Aubrey's like as a coach. I don't know what his tactics are. I don't know how he thinks. I don't know how he interacts with people. But just the fact that it's a new voice with Skinner and Picard going into a contract year for them, I think that's a better situation than what we had last year. And I'm still not convinced that anything on the market that has already gone out the door is better than what we have. Um, Soderblom and DiPietro are definitely intriguing options, but I still think that even if we miss out on those guys, I think I'm excited to see how this situation plays out with the new goalie coach. And I'm excited about McFarland. I think that was a really astute hire. He's got an excellent track record of improving power plays at the NHL level. So we'll see what he can do with our group. And Connor Allen, it doesn't hurt to have an extra skills coach around. Any other resource that is available is a good thing to have. So I'm happy with that hiring as well. So yeah, excited about the new hires generally, and I could impatiently wait for some hockey at this point. Patrick, over to you.
Yeah, I'm happy with the new hires. I'm going to see what happens here. I would like to see us get one of DiPietro or Arvid Bloom or one of those guys just to give us another goalie in the system here that's a bit more ready to take over in a backup role. We have Calvin Pickard with a year to go here, so getting someone younger with the promise that those guys seem to have, I don't think would be a bad idea at all. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, happy with the move so far. Like Mangiapane, like Isaac Howard. So in a hurry to get this summer over with so we can see some more hockey. But yeah, hopefully a couple more exciting, smaller moves to come here for the team. But As always, guys, thank you so much for checking out the pod tonight. Pleasure doing this with you guys. And yeah, looking forward to the next ones. And if you want more content, you can follow me at Oilers Fanatic YT. And I have my own YouTube channel, The Oilers Fanatic, covering all the latest news for the Oilers. So with that said, thank you, everybody. And I'll throw it over to you, Kev.
Awesome, thanks. The thing that I've sort of found interesting recently is just the not wanton disregard for the value of draft picks and just how much capital they're leaving for themselves going into next season. They didn't spend very heavy this summer in terms of the assets they had, which I think is a good thing. They made some astute changes, I think, to the coaching. We'll see how that plays out. But overall, they've left themselves a ton of capital. Like they still have their first rounder in 27. They still have their first rounder in 28, and they basically have all of their picks from those seasons except for a fourth in 27. So they've set the table for themselves to have some capability to continue to draft, to continue to develop talent. And next season, they're going to have $50 million in available cap hit. Now, arguably, they have a bunch of players to sign with that much money, but I think that this year might be a bit of a lighter year in terms of moves, but I think that might be setting themselves up for the future where they have way more capital to play with. So I'm pretty cautiously optimistic that they've made the right moves this summer. We'll see how it all comes together. And with that, good night.